大家好，欢迎，好久不见。我希望你们都有好的身体。呃，最近我认识我的韩语，我汉语说的不流利，但是我特别想要，特别想要的，嗯呃，我我有一个目标，我的目标，嗯，是我有一个目标，我是我跟老的中国人说话，为什么？因为因为我因为我认识老的人很聪明，呃，他们可以帮我说中文，还有他们很有一次，啊、我呃，我想要呃知道他们的呃their life. I want to know their life. Hi, everybody. Sorry for stumbling through that, but so is the nature of learning a second language. There's going to be stumble, it's going to be hard. But I have this goal of increasing my Chinese proficiency so that I can talk with older folk. I love talking with older people. They're interesting. They're wise, and it's just that's how it goes. You learn a lot when talking to older folks. Of course, I want to talk to everybody, but that's just a new goal of mine. 只是我的目标. This is my goal. So there's been something on my mind lately, and so I kind of just wanted to get on here today and kind of vent about it because I'm gonna take these out earphones. Just kind of it's just really been on my mind, and it's the fact that um if you're like me, you live in America, and America is the richest nation in history, right? We have all this money, and um, it's just there's never been there's never been a country where capitalism has flourished so much, right? We have so much money, we're like bathing in it, right? It's the room, the bathtub, or like the spa room full of gold coin type shit, and it's just that's so is the case. That's what we're told, right? But when you open the book and you begin to read, you realize that is it's either an inconsistent argument, or not argument, but like it's an inconsistent thing to believe that America is the richest country, or that there's something completely wrong with this system, and calling your country the richest country when you have a system that has created a state in which there are so many people in poverty, and that people cannot afford the basic necessities to live a healthy and fulfilling life, right? And so lately, I've just been thinking about not just poverty and how Well, one, the metric for poverty really is dependent on where you live. Obviously, nationwide, I think right now it's about 30 something for a family of four, or 30 Ks, about 30, about 30 Ks, a little more than 30K for a family of four, right? That's the average, right? That's where it's come out to be. But it really depends where you are in the country because obviously, 34, let's say it's 34,000. I think I saw a number recently, it was like around 34,000. Let's say you're a family of four making 34,000. Um, that is the average poverty line, but you're living in a relatively cheap area to live in, right? Somewhere, maybe say like Arkansas. All right, that's that's good and well. But if you are that family that's making 34K and you find yourself um in a state where it's more costly to live, whether that be Texas or California, um, or even Florida, it's different, right? You are feeling that you are living in poverty, so it really depends. I mean, you could be making 60K and kind of be at a poverty level, like 60K, and you could be making 60K in California but be at a poverty level, because things are so hard to afford, right? So it really depends on where you are, and I think there needs to be a better metric to determine what a poverty level is that really bases it off of um, areas that people live. Okay, but I I I've been really thinking, as the cost of living goes up. Obviously, the working class is being devastated by the cost of living, by corporations and billionaires getting all these tax cuts, and the cost of living just going up, and wages are for the most part stagnant, right? Except for some industries where wages have gone up just a little bit, but it really depends. But tax cuts um, do not raise wages. That is just false. But that's not the conversation we're having today. The conversation that I want to have today is centered around poverty, but more specifically, childhood poverty. Before I go any further, I want to bring up a little something because this is relevant. So here in the corner, I got it right. Look at me. Here in the corner, if you can see, it is the the cost of this illegal war with Iran that Trump started, and is begging for help for at this point, right? Because there was just no way that America was going to attack Iran and just be able to easily win with a country who has literally existed in a way that counteracts well, in a way that would counteract the way that America has operated around the globe, right? Take out leadership, unfavorable leadership, and install puppets or just destabilize. Iran had the contingency for that. They have the defensive capabilities. It was centered around the idea that America might attack one day, and it's been a disaster for the Trump administration. They're losing favorability, and it's costing us so much money, almost 40 billion so far, and it's the average per day is $1 billion, right? So we have we have rising poverty in this country. And it's interesting because um, just yesterday, Trump was doing a press conference of some sort, in which he came out and said, we can't do daycare with like universal child care. We can't do daycare, can't do Medicare, can't do Medicaid because we're doing war, right? Let me pull up the exact words because this was mind blowing to me because this was such a kick in the face to the working class in this country who are trying to get by, who are struggling to afford childcare. And I work in childcare, by the way, and I can tell you, I have seen many families go because they can no longer afford it. And that, um, if anything, that should be a total wake up call because the more and more people are going to be unable to afford childcare, and that right there hurts the economy. We're always, they're always talking about the economy this, the economy that. Not having people, not having people in the workforce because they have to leave to, take care of the child that Republicans want to force people to have, is like you're forcing people to have kids, but then you don't help people afford to have kids, and it's counterproductive, and has nothing to do with the right to life for children. It's all about subjugating women. We all know that. So Trump's exact words was, we can't take care of daycare. We're a big country. We're fighting wars. It's not possible for us to take care of daycare, Medicaid, Medicare, all these things that would make it easier on Americans if there was some kind of if there were programs to help afford these things, right? So, like, if you don't know, childcare, there's Title 20. Title 20 is going to really depend on what state you are. There is no real national standard when it comes to childcare. So, in some states, you might be able to um, get Title 20 to cover the complete cost of your care, but that would depend on a variety of different things, right? In some states, it'll cover some of it, and then you have to cover most of it yourself. Um, you might not be able to, cover it for a full week of care. You might have to do partial time, and that takes you away from work. You know what I mean? So there's all these things. And he's saying that as we're paying for this very costly war, almost $40 billion, we can't afford to do universal child care. What the fuck do you mean? Like, that's such a that's such a slap in the face. I am gonna say kick. It's such a slap in the face because your supporters amongst all Americans struggle to pay for childcare because it is such an expensive endeavor. A year of childcare is the same and sometimes more expensive than in-state tuition for a 4-year college. People don't really think about that. It's expensive to have kids because one of those expenses is childcare, and it is not cheap. People struggle. People have to decide that we have to pull our kid out of childcare because we can't afford it. Look at Zoran Mamdani in New York. He's pushing. He's already given access to childcare. They have the program ready to rock and roll. Right. I think it starts soon, if I remember correctly. People want that. People know that they need it. Childcare is a necessity if you're going to have people have children and also be part of the workforce to continue the economy moving. It is an absolute necessity, and people need to be able to afford it. Otherwise, they can't participate in the goddamn economy that we so care about, right? And it's insulting, really, to just say we can't do it because we have to spend this money here on bombing children. I think I had a quote tweet was like he really just said that we can't take care of kids because we have to bomb them over there is the thing. Um, and also Medicaid. Look at there are so many kids who get health care with Medicaid, which was absolutely gutted. Medicare and Medicaid were absolutely gutted in the BBB, and that's going to affect um, poor children, whether they live in the city or whether they live in rural areas. It's going to absolutely devastate their ability to get care. 40% of US births are funded through Medicaid, okay? That is so, so important. And as we think about this, it makes me angry, and it should make everyone angry, because we're talking about children, right? Like, everybody understands that children should have the best lives that they can. They should have access to things, that we might not have access to as children. We want them to have a better life. We want them to be safe. We want them to get the care that they need, the education that they need. But we can't do that when we're funding wars and giving tax cuts to the fucking wealthy who don't even inject it back into the economy. They hold it, they offshore it so it's not taxable. They have to buy their 10th yacht, they have to buy their second island, that kind of thing. It Giving tax breaks to the wealthy has never has never um, uh, been reflected in wages of the workers. What reflects the wages of the workers are strong unions who do not organize themselves, in which they have bureaucratic bloat. Okay, the unions who are actually fighting. And by the way, even if you're not part of a union, you should advocate for strong unionship, because unions, um, because workers in the proximity of unions get higher wages too. Why? Because you might not have a union, but your boss is looking, and he's like, "Oh my god, I don't want a union in this workplace because that would undermine me. So I'm going to now give them more money, so that, as a way as meat, right? To keep them from advocating for more. That's how that works. But I digress. It should anger you that we cannot give children what they need, and as a result, it hurts us too. It hurts even if you don't have children. Somebody else's children could end up being your doctor one day, right? They could be the person who they could be the the um the scientist who discovers, a cure for whatever disease that there might, you know what I mean. They could be the one to come up with new technology that's groundbreaking, but they don't have access, because we're not funding it, we don't have the access to it. It makes things harder for us. And if you do have kids, it makes it harder for you to um advance in your career. It makes it harder for you to, make some kind of breakthrough discovery, because you might be in a field, but you can't afford to, put your kid through childcare, and it's debilitating, right? And then there's the aspect of, oh, I can't afford to buy, enough food for my children and myself. You know what I mean? There's also that. Now, families are going hungry because they can't do that. And then, another slap in the face, you have Republicans absolutely gutting SNAP and WIC, that helps families um, get the nutritional foods and food in general, right? They were kicking people off of SNAP when the government shutdown happened late last year. What did you have? You had all these conservatives and Republican politicians coming out and say, "Yeah, we gotta kick people off of SNAP because black people are on SNAP, right? We gotta kick people off SNAP because they want to buy a damn soda. So we're gonna have to make them go hungry. We don't want to fund it anyway." And it's just like, what the fuck are you talking about? The other part, I'm sorry, the other thing was like, it's too expensive and we don't want people to have it. It's like, oh, people are doing fraud, so nobody can have it. We gotta cut it, we gotta gut it, this and that. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? People can't afford food and they're about to go hungry. They were about to go hungry. This was during the shutdown, by the way, which the Democrats, god damn, I can't stand that they showed their bellies and just and ended the shutdown. It was we I think the Republicans were taking blame for that. But again, I digress. SNAP is so important to feed children. That's where I'm getting somewhere. By the way, I am also venting about things that as they come into my head. Child poverty has been on the rise, and that's why I have been mentioning these things, right? Childcare, Medicaid, SNAP, because these things are so instrumental in making sure that children and families are able to uh, to afford what they need, whether it be food or childcare, so that parents can go to work to, you know, be able to stay on SNAP. Because again, very state by state, some states you have to work a certain amount of hours to be able to get SNAP. So now you have to put your child in childcare, but childcare isn't being funded enough, so you can barely afford childcare, and it's just a cycle. It's a cycle. It's a never-ending cycle, and it keeps you there in poverty. And in it's all designed to be that way, and children are suffering because of this. And I'm sorry, because I think part of this is part of what is so why part of why this is so important to me is because I work with kids, because my family struggled, because I have friends who struggled growing up because of these things, and it's such a disgusting system to that we have that locks people in this cycle of poverty. It's basically a punishment for not having a good spawn point, to not being born into a rich family. It is basically punishment. It's punishment to not be born with resources that will get you ahead. Because a child who is born in poverty is most likely to remain in poverty during their adult life, because this so-called American dream is it's a fallacy. Children, like, there's very little social social economic movement, very little. Most people are going to remain where they are. So if you are born with high socioeconomic status, you are most likely to keep that socioeconomic status throughout your adult life. You see, so it's both ends of the spectrum. If you're in the middle, you're going to stay in the middle. There's very little movement that happens, whether up or down, right? And so we have rising child poverty in this country, and it is very, very devastating for generations prior, new generation now, and generations going forward if we don't end this system. And with there are there are about 11 there's over 11 million children who are in poverty now. So 11 million children who are food insecure, 11 million children who are shelter insecure. There are 11 million children who don't have access to basic hygiene needs. They don't have access to clean clothes. Um, their family structure is shaky. There's all these aspects, right, to it. And again, it makes me mad, and it should make everybody mad that in the richest country We have children in poverty, children going hungry. We have children going who are homeless. This should not be a thing in the richest fucking country in the world. We have money to bomb kids in other parts of the world. We have money to destabilize other parts of the world, and it's infuriating. It is absolutely infuriating. There are um, there are kids who depend on schools to get their nutritional meal for the day, right? Like that is their meal. There are almost 30 million children on the school that utilize the school lunch program. That's either getting free lunch or reduced lunch. 30 million kids, guys. That is a lot of kids. I was one of those kids. Okay, I came from a large family, and we didn't make enough. That was my meal for the day. Like that's how intensive. That's how bad it gets. And we're cutting funding for that. We're cutting funding for schools in general. Schools are like the are is often the safest place for kids in poverty, because again, home life is shaky. They don't some A lot of kids will go home, their lights don't come on, they don't have internet, they don't have heating. This is a real concern. This is a real concern, and it's been on my mind. There was another statistic that I there's something else that I wanted to bring up on this point. Let me just let me pull it up. Yes, that was my other point. Was this: we have we got all these kids that are in poverty. Now, I think I looked this up, and it was, what would it cost to end child hunger? To end child hunger, it would be about $30 billion. Now tell me, what does this counter say? What does this counter say? 38 yeah, 38,946,000,000, uh going on $200,000. This is for blowing up residential areas, killing school children, destroying bridges, destroying infrastructure, destroy that's where this money is going. This money, sorry, this money could have ended child hunger this year. I just want to let people know that this money could have ended child hunger in this goddamn country. But no, we're blowing kids up in Iran. Why? You tell me why. It's an illegal war at the behest of basically at the behest of Israel. We are bombing Iran, and then Israel using our tax dollars too is doing genocide and ethnic cleansing. In Gaza, they're doing ethnic cleansing in Lebanon now. There literally a report came out that they are telling Lebanese Christians and Druze to basically uh, they said do not harbor the Shia population. If you have a Shia and you know where they are, you have to basically tell us where they are. Like, what does that sound like? Because Israel is just is modern day Germany at this point, or modern day Nazi Germany at this point, and our tax dollars are going to that, right? And if you're wondering, like, oh, why did I say that it's at the behest of Israel? That's only part of the of it. But Marco Rubio let that slide early on. Donald Trump let that slide early on, and it's It's a terrible situation. We're doing all this, and we've got people going hungry. We got kids going hungry. Military budget. I had looked at this too. The military budget between 2023 and 2024. Or not. Sorry, that's not the one I wanted. I have my notes. Sorry. As of 2024, it's about $900 billion. So again, we could have ended child hunger many times over with that amount of money. But no, we just keep increasing that, and I think Trump even asked for the next budget to be like 1.5 trillion. Medicare for all for a decade cost 3.2 trillion, I think, or universal healthcare. We could do that, but no, we're again wasting money, blowing up kids in other parts of the world, and it's telling. Price of gas is going up, price of food is going up, and it's going to continue going up as we can't get fertilizer. So our crop yields will be less, and so food's gonna go up. Your vegetables gonna go up. It's going to get bad, and I mean I don't want to go into that, but currently we're we're throwing money away at the dumbest and vile shit that we could be throwing money towards, and it's not working. It's failing. America is literally on its last leg. It is a failing empire, and I mean, if you're thinking like, oh, how could that be, or you don't think America's an empire, just look at empires of the past. You don't even have to go that far back, I guess. I mean, the Spanish Empire fell because they overextended themselves, were fighting costly wars, and they didn't have enough money to sustain themselves. They didn't have enough money to sustain things. Look at us, America. What's happening to us? British Empire, same thing. Overextended themselves. They were fighting. They were fighting resistance. They were overspending. They had to claw back, right? So that's just kind of where we're at. I'm trying to think if I had any more points. I don't really think so. Just I don't know. If if nothing else, like I have I clearly I am a leftist. I do not hide that. But I don't expect anyone to see things from like my ideological background. But I do think if anything that more Americans should kind of have like this selfish desire to not spend money on wars, which most people do already have that. But also, why the hell are we giving money to why are we giving so much money to Israel um, when they have government programs funded? They have universal health care. They fund uh, higher education. They have all these things that we don't have. Why? We should want that stuff. We should want our kids to be fed. We should want our neighbors' kids to be fed. We should want something better for our country instead of wasting it on illegal wars, forever wars. It's time to stop. It's time to put an end to that. And um, the last thing I'll say is um, get with your community and start by talking to your community, seeing what your community needs, and like what can be done. If it's calling your congressperson, if it's creating some kind of community action that's going to help the community, or if it's like, hey, as a community, we're going to put forth, this person from the community to run for, office of some level, just to better represent us, that kind of thing. Um, to something larger, to like organizing strikes, to talk to people about, unionizing, joining a union, to talking to people about striking, because these things work. They work. This is how you organize. You start by talking to people. You figure out what you need and what you do to get to what you need. And that is what I'll end it on, guys. Thank you so much, and until next time, I will see you.